Now listen close, because there is no version of this week where Drake walks away from it the same man he was when it started. Rihanna just executed the coldest power move of her entire career, and she did it without saying one single word. No verse, no interview, no subliminal. Rihanna simply walked into a room Drake had spent weeks telling the entire industry belonged to him, on the exact night he needed every camera in the building pointed in his direction, standing next to the exact man he has spent 8 years pretending does not live rent-free in his head. And by the time the night was over, the story no longer belonged to Drake at all. It belonged to a woman who never even turned her head. I already know what some of y'all are typing right now. You're opening the comment box saying, "Here we go, another Rihanna and Drake theory video." No, this is not a theory video. This is a walkthrough of a trap that took 8 years to build and 1 night to spring, and I am about to show you every wire in it. So put the phone down, get comfortable, pour something cold, and lock in, because this is not a regular week for Drake. Not even close, not by a mile. Here's the thing, for 8 straight years, Drake has been running the same play. Drop a verse with a green light in it, drop a verse with a diamond in it, drop a verse about a sunset in Barbados and let the fans do the decoding for him. And every single time somebody stood up and said, "This man has not let go of Rihanna," the response was always the same recycled line. Drake moved on. Drake is unbothered. Drake is the biggest artist on the planet. Why would he care? Hold that phrase in your head, unbothered, because what happened this week torched that entire defense in one evening, and the wildest part is that Drake never saw it coming, because the weapon was not a song. The weapon was a woman walking into a room. Let me set the scene exactly, because the details matter. This was a night Drake's camp had been telegraphing for weeks. The rollout was in motion. The snippets were circulating. The narrative was supposed to be his. Industry night, his energy, his moment. And then the door opened, and Rihanna walked in with A$AP Rocky, and the temperature of the entire building dropped about 10 degrees. Now I am going to keep the line between confirmed and whispered clean for you, because this story deserves to be told without games. Confirmed is the appearance. Confirmed is the timing. Confirmed is that Rihanna has been off red carpets for months, famously selective, famously unavailable, and she picked this room on this night in this proximity. Reported is what happened inside Drake's camp within the hour. According to multiple people who were in that building, the energy around his section changed immediately. Phones came out, conversations got shorter, and a snippet that was reportedly scheduled for later in the week suddenly appeared on his own channel within the hour, which is the kind of move you make when you can feel the headlines slipping out of your hands in real time. That part is reported. That part is not confirmed. But the timestamp is the timestamp, and the timestamp is loud. And here's what did not happen, because this is the part the internet cannot stop replaying. Rihanna did not look at Drake. Rihanna did not glance at Drake. Rihanna did not smirk, did not whisper, did not perform one single frame of acknowledgement for the cameras. She did nothing. And that nothing was the loudest thing that happened all night. Because a woman who is still thinking about you performs for you. A woman who is finished with you does not even register what section you are sitting in. And every person in that building felt the difference in their chest. And here's the part that Drake fans will hate the most, so I need you to sit with it. Drake had a choice that night. He could have let the moment pass. He could have played it cool, posted a studio flick, a wine glass, a dog picture, anything. Instead, sources are already describing full scramble mode behind the scenes, reported story attempts, delete and repost cycles, one cryptic post that allegedly went up and came back down within 90 seconds like it never existed. That is not a man who is over her. That is a man who is haunted by her, and y'all know exactly what the difference is. Now here's where the Drake defenders start typing furiously. She's an attendee. She was invited. She can go where she wants. Listen carefully. Nobody said she couldn't go. What we're saying is that Rihanna is one of the most media-strategic human beings alive. This is a woman who has turned down performances, turned down interviews, turned down entire album cycles because the timing wasn't hers. She does not enter rooms by accident. She does not get photographed by accident. And she absolutely does not reappear after months of public silence, 72 hours into the exact rollout window Drake needed the culture locked onto him by accident. Coincidence? File that in the folder marked "not a chance," because with Rihanna, it never is. It never has been. And the outfit? We have to talk about the outfit, because the internet caught it within minutes. The color combination Rihanna wore matched, almost frame for frame, a mood board that Drake's own creative team had reportedly been circulating for his rollout. That detail is reported, not confirmed, and I am keeping that line clean. But if it holds, understand what it means. It means Rihanna did not just enter Drake's room. Rihanna entered Drake's room wearing Drake's own aesthetic, which is the sartorial equivalent of sitting down at a chess match and opening with your opponent's signature move. That is not fashion. That is psychological warfare with a stylist on payroll. Let me pull the camera all the way back for a second, because I need y'all to understand the size of what is actually happening here. This is not a love triangle story. This is not a tabloid story. This is an 8-year architecture story. Rewind to 2016, the VMAs. Drake on stage with a microphone telling the entire planet he had been in love with Rihanna since he was 22 years old. At the time, the culture ate it up. Fans cried, the clip went into every year-end montage for half a decade, and Rihanna stood there with a smile that in hindsight reads a lot less like joy and a lot more like a woman doing public relations math in real time. Within weeks, they were done publicly. Within months, she was photographed with Hassan Jamil. Within 2 years, she was building a life with A$AP Rocky. And Drake, from that day to this one, has been leaving little trails of verses behind him, like a man dropping breadcrumbs out of a forest he refuses to admit he is lost in. Every green light reference, every diamond line, every Barbadian sunset, every subliminal that half the internet swears is about Rihanna and the other half swears is coincidence. Is any of it confirmed? No, and I am telling you that plainly. But it has been running for 8 consecutive years, and rumors with no engine underneath them do not run for 8 years. Something is fueling that car. Then Rihanna and A$AP Rocky had a child, then another, and according to every report on record, Drake attended nothing, acknowledged nothing, and, if the lyric pattern people are right, started writing about the whole situation more indirectly, more often, and more bitterly. Reference is not confession, and I want that on the record, but pattern is pattern. Now fast forward back to this week and look at the timing stack, because this is where the trap thesis stops being a theory and starts being a blueprint. Point 1. Rihanna's appearance reportedly landed less than 72 hours after Drake's new snippets started circulating, which means she chose to materialize during the exact window he needed the spotlight. That is either the coldest coincidence in modern celebrity history or the most surgically timed entrance of the year. Pick one. Point 2. A$AP Rocky, same night, was photographed wearing a specific piece of jewelry that fans have connected to a 2019 magazine profile where he reportedly hinted, in a quote that was later scrubbed, at his awareness of Drake's continued fixation. If that connection is accurate, that jewelry was not an accessory. That jewelry was a message. That is fan theory, but it is fan theory with receipts attached. Point 3. Within 12 hours of the appearance, 3 separate accounts that have functioned for months as reliable proxies for Drake's inner circle reportedly began deleting posts tied to the rollout. Scrubbed captions, archived stories, locked replies. That is what a camp does when a night did not go the way the night was drawn up. That is not maintenance. That is a fire drill. And let's give the man in the frame his respect, because A$AP Rocky understood the assignment. Rocky did not mean mug a single camera. Rocky did not post a thing. Rocky just stood next to his family, wearing, if the fan detectives are right, a quiet little piece of jewelry with a 5-year receipt attached to it, and let the photograph travel around the world on its own. That is the part that has to sting the most for Drake. Not that Rihanna moved on, that Rihanna moved on to a man who also knows how to say everything without saying anything. Now, let's get to the part that has the corners of the internet awake at 3 in the morning, because there is a whisper, and I am not confirming it because I do not have hard proof, but I want it on the record so I can call it later, that Rihanna's team has been sitting on a piece of unreleased material for years. A verse, a vocal, a recording, something small, something surgical, something that if it ever surfaced would recontextualize the entire 8-year timeline between her and Drake in a single afternoon. That is allegation. That is rumor. Nobody has heard it with their own ears, but it is being whispered loudly enough now that people who used to laugh at it have stopped laughing. Screenshot this paragraph, timestamp it, because if that recording ever sees daylight, you will remember where you heard the framing first. And let me say one more thing about the frame itself, because the photograph is doing something most people have not fully clocked yet. In every image that came out of that room, Rihanna is not performing for the lens. Rihanna is mid-conversation, mid-laugh, mid-life. A$AP Rocky is relaxed in a way that only reads as genuine. And somewhere in the background geography of that same building, according to the floor reports, is a man whose whole week was engineered around being the main character, watching the main character energy walk past him wearing his own color palette. Cameras do not lie about energy. Cameras never have. And the energy in those frames is a family that did not come for Drake at all, which is precisely what makes it devastating. You cannot defend yourself against people who are not attacking you. There is no counterpunch for indifference. Boxing has no answer for an opponent who left the arena 8 years ago and is happy about it. But here's the twist that I believe is actually the truth, and it is colder than any recording. I don't think Rihanna ever releases anything. I don't think The Trap is a song at all. I think The Trap is presence, showing up again and again in rooms Drake believed he owned, beside the man Drake spent an entire discography insinuating was not worthy of her, and letting the photographs do work no 16 bars ever could. You cannot respond to presence with a verse. You cannot respond to presence with a snippet. The only counter to presence is absence, and absence is the one move Drake has never learned. Loud in every verse, loud in every rollout, loud in every caption. He trained the culture for a decade to hear a specific frequency every time Rihanna's name floated anywhere near his catalog. And you cannot untrain an audience. He built the box himself. She just walked in and closed the lid. And this is the part where the story stops being funny and starts being a little sad, so sit with me for a second. Because in 2016, Drake was the hero of this movie. That is just the truth. The man on the stage with his heart in his hand, saying the beautiful thing at the perfect moment, everybody rooted for him. I rooted for him. But somewhere between that stage and this week, the role flipped. Not because Drake committed some unforgivable crime, because Drake refused to accept an ending where he was not the lead, and every subliminal since has been the sound of a man rewriting the final scene of a film that wrapped 8 years ago. Meanwhile, Rihanna never wrote a diss, never gave the interview, never said his name. Rihanna just kept living, kept building, kept winning, kept loving the man she chose out loud. And the culture watched both of those tapes for 8 years and quietly reached its verdict. Now, let me preempt the defenses because I can hear the keyboards warming up. Defense 1. Rihanna is chasing relevance because her music career is paused. Rihanna owns Fenty. Rihanna holds a stake in Savage X Fenty. Rihanna headlined the Super Bowl and turned down tours because she does not need the check. That woman could retire tomorrow and out-earn your favorite rapper from a hammock. Rihanna is not chasing relevance. Rihanna is swatting a fly that has been circling her family for years, and she picked the perfect week to swing. Defense 2. The appearance was a coincidence. She was just there for the event. She has been invisible for months. Months. She skipped rooms that begged for her, and she chose this week? Bring me the math on that coincidence. I will wait. Bring your calculator, bring your spreadsheet, bring a statistician. Defense 3. Drake is unbothered. He is focused on the music. Unbothered men do not reportedly release a snippet within the hour. Unbothered men do not have 3 adjacent accounts scrubbing posts by sunrise. That is not unbothered. That is a man refreshing the timeline with his jaw clenched. 3 defenses down, and that was just the warm-up round. Now, here's where it gets even more layered, because there is a growing whisper that this was not a one-night event, that Rihanna and A$AP Rocky have more appearances mapped out over the coming months, more rooms, more moments, more quiet little photographs landing at exactly the wrong time for exactly the wrong person. I cannot confirm that, nobody can. But if the trap thesis is right, if the weapon really is presence, then this week was not the whole play. This week was the opening move. And the thing about a trap trace is that the target does the work for you. Every verse Drake drops now gets scanned for her name. Every rollout gets measured against her shadow. Every room Drake enters for the next year, the first question in every comment section will be the same. Was she invited? And here's the part I want you to carry with you when you leave this video, because it is bigger than Drake, bigger than Rihanna, bigger than any of the players standing in that room. In an era where every artist is trying to weaponize their fan base, their timeline, their persona, the most devastating weapon in the whole arsenal is still the oldest one: presence, just presence. Walking into the right room at the right hour with the right person and letting one photograph do what 1,000 diss tracks never could. That is what Rihanna did this week. That is what Rihanna has been doing quietly for 8 years. And it is beautiful, and it is cruel, and it is undeniable, all at the same time. So, what happens next? Let me lay out the 3 paths, and I will be honest about which one I am betting on. Path 1, and this is my bet: Rihanna does nothing. No release, no statement, no follow-up. Rihanna lets the photographs marinate and goes back to her empire and her family, because that is the cleanest, coldest outcome, and it fits a decade of her pattern. Path 2, Rihanna releases something small, a feature, a one-off, something that says nothing directly and everything in the subtext. Not a diss, a full stop. Path 3, the wild card, the alleged recording surfaces and the entire timeline gets rewritten in a single day. That one is rumor. That one might never happen. But whichever path is real, understand this: the trap already worked. It worked the second Rihanna walked through the door, because the trap was not about what she would do next, it was about what Drake could not stop doing. And he is not stopped. He is, by every report, in the studio right now, and I would bet this entire channel that whatever Drake drops next has at least one line in it that the whole internet decodes in under an hour, because he cannot help himself. That is the whole diagnosis. He cannot help himself. And understand the asymmetry that makes this whole rivalry so lopsided. Drake's weapon requires output: songs, verses, snippets, posts, rollouts. Every attack costs him studio time, creative capital, and a fresh news cycle. And every attack reopens the conversation he claims to be tired of. Rihanna's weapon requires nothing: a calendar entry and an outfit. That is the entire budget. One side is spending millions of dollars of creative energy to stay in a fight. The other side is winning the fight with a door opening and a camera flash. That is not a rivalry anymore. That is a mismatch, and the whole culture can see the scoreboard. Now here's the emotional core of this whole thing, and I need y'all to feel it with me before we wrap. There is a version of this story where Drake wakes up tomorrow, looks in the mirror, really looks, and decides to take a real break. Not a theatrical exit, not a fake retirement bar, a real, unplugged, phone off, no features, no subliminals reset. And I say this with zero disrespect. That is what he needs. That is what any human being in his position would need. Because what we are watching is not a strong man having a strong season. What we are watching is a man who has confused motion for progress and volume for victory. But is Drake going to take that break? Absolutely not. Let's be real. Drake will have 3 new songs out before Friday, and at least one line in one of them will be about her, and at least one will be about Rocky, and every single one of those lines will be one more receipt confirming that he heard everything, that he is spiraling, and that he cannot let it go. Because a man who has spent 8 years circling the same closed door is not a man who understands closure. That is a man at war with his own memory. And the sad part is, deep down, he knows it too. All right, let me close some loops before I sign off, because we covered an enormous amount of ground tonight. Loop 1, the appearance. Confirmed, timed, surgical. It landed exactly where it was aimed. Loop 2, the panic response. Reported, and the timestamps are ugly for the Drake camp. Loop 3, the outfit theory. Unconfirmed, but if it holds, it is the coldest detail of the entire story. Loop 4, the 8-year verse pattern. Real, documented by the fans, and it did not slow down after the children arrived, which tells you everything about where his head has been. And Loop 5, the unreleased recording. That one stays open, wide open, on purpose, because that is the chapter we are all waiting on. And when it moves, it will move fast, and I'm going to be live the second it does. So let me hear the whole room. Was the appearance intentional or coincidental? Real answers only. Do you believe the unreleased recording exists, or is that fan fiction that never surfaces? Does Drake respond on wax? And if he does it help him or bury him? And the big one,
Is this the moment the culture finally admits the ending was written back in 2016 and everything since has been one man arguing with a closing credit? Drop your read in the comments because I want the tally, I want the temperature, I want the pulse. Hit the like button if this gave you a new angle on a rivalry you thought you already understood. Subscribe if you want the next chapter the second it breaks. And turn notifications on because if even one frame of new footage comes out of that room, I am going live immediately. And if you're Aubrey Drake Graham watching this at 3 in the morning from a burner account, respectfully, log off. The room already gave its verdict. The era already ended. It ended the second Rihanna walked in, said nothing, and let you spend the rest of your night trying to take back a spotlight she was never standing under. That's the breakdown. That's the autopsy. That's the room. Stay locked in because this story is not over. Not by a mile. Not even close. Buckle up.